Well, hello everyone. It's noon or 12:30 on Thursday, which is the time I hop on here and do live coaching. So I try to get on here every single week on Tuesday to do some inspiration around lunchtime and then on Thursday to do some live coaching. If you're coming on, please say hello, say where you're coming, where you're at, and always feel free to ask questions in the comments. I also typically post on Wednesdays a graphic in the Deserving Women group asking if anyone has any questions. So don't hesitate. If it is something that you feel is kind of private and personal, feel free to just private message me either through the group or if we're friends, just directly to my, to my inbox. Sorry, my lips are a little dry. And it's also really loud here because we're having our deck replaced, so it's being torn down right now. So I apologize if you're hearing all of the outside noise. So some of you have seen that recently I've been getting more and more passionate about speaking up about this work. And it's because I'm realizing the significance and the gravity of it, and that's creating a sense of urgency and responsibility for me. I went to a speaker conference this weekend and I realized that I really have to fully step into and own my message because there is such a need out there. And that as someone who has this experience, as someone who has the education and training that I do, and as someone who has the lived experience of struggling with my relationship with food and body image and health, I have a responsibility to take this message as far as I can and to speak about it in a way that is honoring that responsibility. So I'm going to be taking it more seriously. Not that I haven't known that it was serious previously, but you're going to see me really speaking out and speaking up about how I truly feel about some of these issues and why it's important. So today I'm going to talk about body comments. Well, actually, I am going to talk about body comments, but I'm going to back up a little bit. So in case you don't know, or in case it hasn't been clear in the past, the work that I do as a coach is focused around healing our relationship with food. And this is important because the diet culture is so pervasive. We actually we collectively spend $166 billion a year on dieting. And it is much more costly than that. It is much more harmful than that. It actually costs us a tremendous amount of mental and emotional energy that's wasted just simply feeling bad about how we look, worrying about our size, worrying about whether we should eat the potato chips or not, feeling shame around having eaten something that we felt like we shouldn't eat, right? So, and then just even untangling all of the should and shouldn'ts around food. What should we eat? Well, that's where intuitive eating comes in and the work that I do. So shifting into having body awareness, body attunement, so being tuned into our body and what our body needs, and eating things that support our well-being, that are nourishing and satisfying, right? So that looks like eating foods that help us to feel well and have the energy and the stamina that we need. And it also looks like enjoying and celebrating and having fun and playful foods in our life. So, and I can't possibly know what is satisfying for one person or what's going to feel good to one person versus another person. So we are each, or when you're hungry and when you're not hungry and when you feel full and all of those things and how it feels to be in your body. So we're each our own expert, right? And so it's kind of getting back to that, getting reconnected to our bodies and being tuned back into our bodies. So that's the work that I do. And the reason, as I mentioned, that I am passionate about doing it is that we need to have this message out there. We need women to be free of all of that emotional weight, right? All of that mental and emotional energy that's wasted, that's tied up in worrying about food and struggling with it. We need that energy to be freed up so that we can actually nourish ourselves, so that we have the energy and the stamina and the focus that we need to go out into the world and have our influence in the world, right? So that we can go out and start to be leaders in the world, just as men are, right? We need women leading with their magic and their brilliance so that we can start to really shift things and have more problem solving and a more collaborative world where women have an equal opportunity that men do. And so these things are, layered and complicated, and there's so many reasons. There's so many ways that the diet culture is pervasive and harmful. And so today I feel really called to speak about body comments. So a good friend of mine the other day, sorry, I need to plug in my computer. There we go. All right. So the other day, a good friend of mine mentioned, she noticed that I had potentially lost some weight. And I actually hadn't noticed. I'm not focused on my size or my weight anymore. I don't weigh myself typically unless it's for an experimental purpose. Like if I eat something, a lot of times I'll notice a lot of water weight gain. If I eat something that maybe didn't work for me in the past and I'm wanting to experiment with whether that would be a good food for me now or an okay food for me now. So sometimes I'll weigh myself like pre and post. So I'll eat something and then the next day weigh myself again. And I know if I gained 3 pounds, that's not a true weight gain, that's simply a strong reaction, right, to the food. So I will use it sometimes as a tool. Sometimes I'm curious and I'll get on the scale, but I think it's probably been months since I've weighed myself. I don't know actually how much I weigh right now. So I'm not very body focused anymore. I feel confident that I am caring for myself and I feel good about I love my body the way it is. I really believe in the health at any size model and am working on being body positive in my own practice and in my own life, in my own brain, right? Because it's challenging. It's all of the things out here and all the things in here. I don't know if you hear this, but it's so loud right now. They're sawing some wood, I guess. But anyways, so back to body comments. So anyway, I had a good friend. I have been eating more vegetables and less processed food because my pain had been increased. So I talked to some of you about that I am doing a short-term medical, or had been doing a short-term medical eating plan with some flexibility in there. But just to reduce my pain, not to lose weight or anything like that. So anyway, I see my friend. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you look great. Have you lost weight?" And I kind of had to struggle with what do I say to that? Because here's the problem with it. The problem with it is that, fortunately for me, I'm someone who has done a lot of work around my body image, so I'm okay. But if you are someone who has struggled with your size and your weight, and you maybe have, this is so ridiculously loud right now. If you hear it, this is going to make a really funny video. But anyways, and I don't believe anyone's on live, but if you hop on live, welcome, and just say who you are and that you're here and you can hear me. Okay, so anyways, here's the issues with it. If I'm someone who has struggled with my weight, my size, and I lose weight and people tell me, "Oh, you look amazing, you look great," right? And then I put weight back on, it's going to give me the message that I'm not as good when I'm larger, right? And that I'm good when I'm smaller. And so in our society, and diet culture perpetuates this. In our society, if you are smaller, that's good, right? And if you're larger, that's bad. That's how internal body stigma works, right? So we have external body stigma, and then we internalize that message to believe that we are better when we're good, and to believe that we need to be, or we're better when we're smaller, and that we need to be working toward being smaller. And this is really unfortunate because our value and our worth have nothing to do with our size, right? But culture, we tie those two things together. So by commenting on someone's body either way, we're actually adding to that idea, the weight stigma, that small is better. And for women in particular, we're taught to, I got my superhero shirt on and my never hung picture in the back. Anyway, so we are taught that we should make ourselves smaller. Both we should lose weight and be like tiny physically, but also make ourselves small, like make yourself fit, right? Don't stand out, don't speak your message, these things. And so when we connect being smaller with better, even though you're trying to, I know people's motivation is pure. They're just trying to make the person feel good. They think they look nice. But when we make those connections, it perpetuates this overall harm that the diet culture, and weight stigma culture do, right? This harm that we end up questioning our value and our worth. We end up seeking external sources for weight loss and paying money for that. Now, why is seeking out weight loss bad? When we focus on dieting and restricting for weight loss purposes, it is harmful. The research shows that we have a pendulum swing that happens. We want to eat all the things, and then we beat ourselves up and feel bad. And there's actually physiological reasons that we end up having that pendulum swing. So it's not that we failed at the diet, it's that the diets are inherently flawed and that they fail, period. So when people perpetually diet, they over time always gained weight. If you look at the Biggest Loser studies, they found that those participants gained weight and then some. They lost muscle mass. They had worse blood sugar control. They had like their health outcomes were worse. The other reason that it's harmful is that when we have this weight stigma, people are afraid to go to the doctor. And if they do go to the doctor, they don't receive the same quality of medical care. Whether you're a thinner person or a larger person, it actually goes both ways. So if you're a thinner person, you may hear from the doctor if you are worried about sleep apnea because you're tired all the time. Oh, you don't have sleep apnea because you're thin. Well, I'm actually someone who has sleep apnea and was actually told that I didn't meet the normal expected criteria and therefore I probably didn't have it. I had to be really assertive in with my providers, and I'm a nurse, so I, know the signs of sleep apnea. I had to be really assertive with my providers to get a sleep study, and sure